You have less than 24 hours. That's how long it is left for a ceasefire between the United States and Iran expires. And today, Donald Trump made it very clear he is not extending it. Peace talks are scheduled for this week in Pakistan. Iran has not confirmed it is showing up. The Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical oil shipping lanes on the planet, is closed. Oil prices are soaring, and the US military, according to Trump himself, is totally loaded up. This is not a drill. This is the edge of a war igniting. Stay with me, because before we unpack what is happening right now, you need to understand how we got here. And that story starts with a deal Trump killed 7 years ago, a deal that was supposed to prevent all of this. Here is what happened today. Trump sat down with the CNBC for an interview. The reporter asked a simple question: will he extend the ceasefire with Iran to buy more time for talks? Trump's answer was direct: well, I don't want to do that. 5 words, and just like that, the stakes for this week's negotiations jumped to a whole new level. A second round of talks is set to take place in Islamabad, Pakistan, but there is a serious problem. Iran has not publicly committed to attending, and the 2-week ceasefire that posed the fighting expires by the end of Wednesday. Trump says Iranian negotiators will show up. He says they have no choice. Iran can get themselves on a very good footing if they make a deal. They can make themselves into a strong nation again, Donald Trump said. Then he went further. He listed what the US has already done to Iran military: their navy, their air force, their military leadership. He said the US military is ready to resume operations the moment the ceasefire ends. Iran, for its part, is not backing down. Tehran says it will not negotiate under threat. Its foreign ministry released a statement Monday warning the US will bear full responsibility for any further escalations. So two sides, both armed, both digging in, and a clock counting down. Now, why does the rest of the world care? Because of this, the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. About 20% of the world's oil flows through it. When it closes, the world feels it. Iran shut the strait in response to Israel's bombardment of Lebanon. Tehran said Lebanon was part of the ceasefire terms. The US disagreed. Trump responded by ordering a naval blockade, the US military laying siege to ships linked to Iran. When Lebanon eventually got its ceasefire, Iran announced it would reopen the strait. Trump said the US blockade would stay. So less than 24 hours later, Iran closed the strait again. US forces have since seized at least one Iranian-flagged vessel. Iran called it an act of piracy. The result? Oil prices have surged globally. American drivers are paying more than 25% more for petrol than they were at the start of this conflict. And Trump, who insists the US is totally in control of the waterway, is still maintaining the blockade. This is a global economic pressure point, and it is wide open right now. To understand what Trump is demanding now, you need to understand what already existed. It was called the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, and it was at the time one of the most complex diplomatic agreements ever negotiated. July 14, 2015, Iran sat across the table from the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, China, and the European Union. 2 years of talks, hundreds of specialists, and the result was a deal. Here is what Iran agreed to. It would slash its stockpile of enriched uranium by 98% down to just 300 kilograms. It would cap enrichment levels at 3.67%. This is nowhere near the 90% needed to build a nuclear bomb. It will reduce its active centrifuges. Those are the machines that enrich uranium from around 20,000 down to over just 6,000. And it will submit to one of the most rigorous international inspection systems ever put in place. In return, Iran got relief. Billions in frozen assets were released. Sanctions on oil export, banking, and trade were eased. Iran was let back into the global economy. And it was working. The International Atomic Energy Agency, the global nuclear watchdog, confirmed again and again that Iran was complying with the deal. Then came 2018 and Trump. Trump called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action the worst deal ever. His argument was this: the deal did not cover Iran's ballistic missiles. It did not stop Iran from funding armed groups across the Middle East, in Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq. And several of its key provisions had what are known as sunset clauses, meaning they would expire over time, allowing Iran to gradually resume nuclear activities. In May 2018, Trump formally withdrew the United States from the agreement. The International Atomic Energy Agency had just confirmed one more time that Iran was in compliance. It did not matter. Washington reimposed sweeping sanctions: oil exports, banking, and shipping. The pressure was immense. The stated goal was to force Iran back to the table on American terms. It did not go as planned. By mid-2019, Iran began pushing back. It extended the caps on enriched uranium. It ramped up enrichment levels. By late 2024, Tehran announced it will install thousands of new advanced centrifuges. And by December 2024, the International International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed Iran was enriching uranium to 60% purity. That is dangerously close to weapon grade. The deal that was supposed to contain Iran's nuclear program was gone, and Iran's program was bigger than ever. So what is Trump asking for in these new talks? More, much more. The first demand is zero uranium enrichment, not the 3.67% like the old deal. Zero. Iran will have to give up its entire enrichment capability, and its existing stockpile of 60% enriched uranium, roughly for 40 kilograms, will have to entirely leave the country. The second demand is Iran's ballistic missile program, severely restricted. This became a flashpoint after several Iranian missiles pierced Israel Iron Dome defense system during fighting last year. A handful of Israeli casualties, but the psychological impact on both Israel and Washington was significant. Iran has said its missile program is non-negotiable. The third demand is Iran must stop supporting its allies across the region: Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, armed functions in Iraq. What Tehran calls its axis of resistance, Iran has refused to even discuss this at the table. And here is something important. In March this year, Tulsi Gabbard, the US Director of National Intelligence, told Congress that the United States does not currently assess that Iran is building a nuclear weapon. Yet these demands remain on the table. Iran's president fired back just this past Sunday. He said Trump has no right to deprive Iran of its nuclear rights under the international law. Can a new deal actually be reached? Here is the honest answer. It is complicated. Andrea Craig, a security professor at King's College London, says what Trump is likely to actually get is something that looks a lot like the old Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Some restrictions on enrichment, possibly a sunset clause, international oversight, not the full dismantlement Washington is publicly demanding. On economics, there may be more flexibility. Iran is going to want immediate access to cash and liquidity, not a long, slow-phased lifting of sanctions. And Craig says the Trump administration is already showing signs it may meet Iran there. But the political landscape in Tehran has shifted dramatically. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Iran's elite military and political force, is now firmly in charge. The leadership that was willing to compromise in 2015 is largely gone. What replaced it is harder, more defiant, and in possession of new leverage, including the control of the Strait of Hormuz. Craig's verdict is stark. The US-Israel war on Iran, he says, leaves the world worse off than Trump had stuck to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Even if a new deal is eventually reached, 2 wars have been fought since Trump walked away from the agreement. Thousands of lives have been lost. Iran's nuclear program has accelerated, and now with the ceasefire hours away from expiring, everyone is back to the negotiating table under far worse conditions than before. So here is where we stand. The ceasefire expires on Wednesday. Iran may or may not be in Pakistan for talk. Trump has ruled out an extension and says the US military is ready. Iran says it will use every available tool to defend its sovereignty. Global oil prices are up. The Hormuz Strait is closed, and in the middle of all this, a nuclear standoff that has been building for more than a decade is reaching its most dangerous moment yet. Trump says he wants a deal that is far better than the one he walked away from. Experts say what he will realistically get, if he gets anything, looks a lot like the deal he called the worst ever. And the bitter truth, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was working. The International Atomic Energy Agency said so. Iran was complying. The bomb was not being built. But none of that stopped the deal from being torn up. Now the world is paying the price in oil, in war. And in the 24 hours left on a clock that nobody seems willing to stop, the Iran nuclear deal crisis of 2025 is not just a headline. It is a turning point, and you're watching it happen in real time. If this story matters to you, subscribe to The Voice for All. Hit the bell. We cover these stories every day, so you never miss what's changing in the world. I'll see you in the next one.